soft. Like you take your fingernail, push in it, and it leaves an impression that sort of tells a little test that tells you it's soft. And here's a smaller one. These holes are ones that I've drilled to get fires out of. So this is what I would often start with if I'm going to make a spindle, because it's about the correct length for me. So let me just pass around these two pieces. I just want you to use them to sort of get a memory of what a hearth and a spindle look like. So you drill that into the other one. It actually looks like these match up. I think probably the last fire I made with these, I used this spindle, which is sort of amazing because there's a handful of them and I just happen to pick ones that match. You can tell because it spins real good. They made each other, those two elements there. The fire with. And actually, when you do this process, you don't get a flame come out of your drill. You only get a little smoldering coal. Very important piece of information for the vision. And that coal, you have to nurture to take care of it, like the smoldering end of a cigarette. Just this to burst into a flame. And then we'll have a shave, and this one's kind of a crude one. Let's see if I can find one. First of all, I wouldn't use black locust because it takes more heat for a black locust to burst into flame. But this one right here is fairly representative. We could even call this a match. It's not a match like we would call a match in your culture because you can't strike it. So we'll take this little shaving, and actually I'm often warming it up before it even bursts into a flame. Like I'm putting this close in proximity to the heat. So it's getting warmer and warmer just as this gets warmer and warmer, and then this bursts into flame, and this is already warm, so it doesn't take long for it to light up. And then I put that out. Save that because it took me a lot of energy to make that economic evaluation. Save this because I can make another fire and another fire and another fire and another fire out of this. So then I've got this, and I have to have the skill and knowledge to not let this go out. Like the wind, it blows it out. Yeah, that's bad news. It took a lot of effort to get that. So you have to like turn it in such a way that the flame is running up. The flame has to have fuel, so that might go out and it burns slowly. This will go out because where's the heat going? Going away from the fuel, so you have no fuel up here except for oxygen. So if you turn it like this, it's racing up and eating your fuel up. In fact, if it's eating it too fast, you just turn it a little bit, kind of like turning a dial on the stove there. And that way it's eating the fuel that's right above it. And so when you get it just, when you got it burning good, you put it up underneath your fuel that you've gotten already, like finely shredded. Like this stuff right here would actually be an ideal fuel source, little fine, dry pieces. So we could actually use those to make our first fire. And ideally, once you get a fire going, you keep it going, you share it with your friends, and they don't have to go through all this. And this one is a stone that we found in the creek that's fairly soft and it fits the hand fairly well. And we just took another stone that's an important choice called quartz. And the quartz, okay, to pass this around, this quartz is the hardest rock, and so when it impacts, like each time that piece of quartz hits, and by the way, these pieces we're passing around, they're too small for this job. You want something about this size so it has some impact. Bam, bam. Every time you hit it, it just shapes the softer stone. A little bit crumbles off every time. You have to focus it in one place. And that's just knowing stone. That's Stone Age stuff. That's something that your ancestors did.
Pecking?
That's
Quicker,
called pecking, yeah.
Is pecking quicker than twisting, like what's in your hand, I mean, just by twisting?
Yeah, Desiree took a short little rock. In fact, if you did that, you might have used one of those little rocks, right? Yeah, so she just used one of those little rocks and just went like this. But pecking is much faster. It's more than twice as fast because moving around. In fact, that's one reason I often take a knife and cut a little pin through it there. you can see it's getting hot, and there's some hot powder there, but the hot powder is all around. See how it's not concentrated? That's why we have to have that notch. We have to concentrate it. It's still warm to my touch, even on the side, and I don't want to touch the inside. I didn't touch the inside because you have oil on your fingers, so you don't want that on there. So I'm going to look and see, and that's cutting really close to the edge. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, because if it messes up, and you could let somebody borrow it, and 2 minutes later, it's the goner.
Gosh, that happened to me last Christmas. I let my stepdad split some wood. He hit it twice and broke my axe. Broke the axe handle. I was,
I've seen it happen many
that was
times.
sad. He insisted it was about to break anyway, but
I'm evaluating the width of it and the depth of it. Right now it's just barely going into the current black circle, but the black circle is going to get bigger. And so I know that it will be into the black circle. I think there's some ratio that I came up with, like when you, a lot of times you get excited, you got your foot on, you pick it up, and sometimes it just goes, it just falls around. So when you're going to take your foot off of it, I usually make them long enough you can grab both sides of them so that you're holding on to it, and you take your foot off so it doesn't disturb that tiny little coal. Another thing, as far as catching the coal, a lot of times if you have a wood shaving or a credit card or something, you put it underneath there and catch the material. A piece of bark is good for that. Something wide and broad. Here's something perfect, yeah. So here's a piece of dry bark, dry being one nice thing about it. So you put it there. So that's a good solid place. Point it towards myself, and then I twist it. So it's sort of like loaded. You sort of have to hold it. If you let go, it just flies out, see? So towards the bow, towards myself, you can see it can get jumpy. The thumb and forefinger technique, basically you can tighten your string and you can feel this. Like you grab that spindle there, and when I tighten it, you feel the tension change out here?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's the subtle thing. If somebody didn't point that out, you wouldn't see that while they're doing it, see? So when, hopefully start this without needing to increase the tension with my thumb and forefinger. It's only near the end of it that you have to use your thumb and forefinger. Actually, I have to kind of use all 4 fingers there. See? Shoelaces can get tangled up in here, so a lot of times I push them off to the side. You get your foot just the right forward and just the right left and right. One thing that helps gauge that is this little crook in your wrist wants to lock on that bone. And see how the arm wraps around? This is the stance that makes it the easiest for you to do this. For instance, the opposite of that would be to hold it out here in the air like this. You can be jumping all over the place. It's really hard to do that, so let's make it easy. I make it easy as I can every time. I lock my wrist around that shin bone. And right now.